The warrior from the ruins. The twin suns hung low over the shattered plains of Vahlran. Smoke still rose from the broken metal towers that once touched the sky. Now they leaned like old bones, silent reminders of a war no one truly won. The alien engineer, a slender being with silver skin and glowing eyes, walked carefully through the ruins. Her name was Lira, and her people were known for logic, precision, and avoidance of violence. But today she searched for a rumor, a living human. Humans were said to be gone, wiped out after the last Galactic war. Every archive claimed Earth had been burned, every world they touched abandoned. Yet there were whispers in the trade channels. A lone human warrior fighting raiders on forgotten worlds, defending the weak without reason or reward. Lira thought it was impossible, but curiosity, that rare flaw in her kind, pushed her here. She stepped over a fallen drone, its eyes flickering. The air was thick with dust. Her scanners clicked, showing faint life readings deep under a collapsed structure. She hesitated, then began clearing the wreckage with her repair tool. Each beam she lifted released a hiss of old smoke and the faint scent of burned oil. And then she saw him. A figure lay half buried under a sheet of steel. His armor was unlike any she had ever seen. Primitive by galactic standards, yet covered with strange marks that seemed to tell a story. The man's breathing was shallow, his face pale beneath the grime. He looked human, dangerous, broken, and magnificent all at once. Lira dropped to her knees. She ran her scanner again. It confirmed it, Terran DNA, human. Her hands trembled. A living human was beyond price. To her people it would be history reborn. To others it would be a weapon. She whispered softly, "You shouldn't exist." His eyes flickered open. For a moment they were unfocused, then sharp. A piercing gray that seemed to look straight through her. "Who?" His voice was rough. "You're not with them?" "No," she said quickly. "You're safe. I'm here to help." He coughed, struggling to sit up, his strength failing. "Name's Reid," he muttered. "What system is this?" "Vahlran 9, she replied. "You were on a battlefield long after the fight ended." He chuckled weakly. "Figures. War never really ends." Lira activated her repair drone, letting it scan his wounds. Metal shards had pierced his side. She used her energy torch to seal the bleeding. He didn't cry out, didn't move. Only watched her, silent, assessing. "You're not afraid," he said. "I have repaired war machines larger than you," she answered with calm humor. "But I never met one that talked back." He grinned faintly, and that smile, tired and human, made her chest tighten. When he was stable, she offered him a drink pack. He took it and drank deeply. The dust storm outside thickened, and they had to move before the radiation winds returned. She helped him to his feet. As they walked through the ruins, Lira couldn't help studying him. Every movement spoke of discipline, not just a soldier, but a survivor. His armor was battered, but every dent told a story of defiance. "Your kind vanished," she said finally. "How are you alive?" He didn't answer right away. "We don't vanish," he said softly. "We adapt. Some of us went underground, some found other stars. You fought alone here?" He nodded once. "Raiders came for the refugees. I stayed until they stopped coming." Lira paused. "You stayed to protect them?" He looked at her, eyes calm. "It's what we do." That simple sentence hit something deep inside her. Her species lived by reason, by cost and efficiency. But humans, they acted on something else. Something wild, unpredictable, and powerful. They reached her ship as the sky turned blood red. The wind howled, carrying the screams of metal. Reid stopped at the ramp, staring at the sleek alien craft. "You built that?" "I repaired it," she said. "Good," he murmured. "You'll need it," Lira frowned. "Why?" "Because they're coming back," he said. "The raiders. And if they find you helping me, you'll be marked." She tilted her head. "And if I leave you?" He smiled again, weary but steady. "Then I'll die fighting. Humans don't run." Something stirred inside her, a strange heat, a strange pull. Logic screamed to leave, but instinct whispered otherwise. She turned away, masking her face. "You're not dying today, human," she said finally. "Not while I can repair what's broken." Reid gave a small nod, almost a salute. "Then let's fix the galaxy, engineer." Outside, thunder rolled as enemy dropships pierced the clouds. Lira powered up her ship's defenses. For the first time in her life, she wasn't calculating risk or outcome. She was standing beside a human warrior, and somewhere deep within her heart, a decision began to form. one she didn't yet understand, a decision that would soon echo across the stars. The fire in his eyes, the wind screamed through the cracked plains as Lira's ship roared to life, engines flaring blue against the blood-red horizon. The raiders' dropships appeared like dark insects against the storm clouds, descending fast, their plasma trails cutting through the dust-filled air. Reid stood beside her at the viewport, his armor scorched and dented but his eyes alive with focus. "They're coming in low," he said, his voice steady. "They'll try to surround us before landing." Lira's hands moved over the controls. "Their ships outnumber ours by 5-1. "Numbers don't win battles," Reid replied, picking up a rifle from the rack. "People do," she gave him a quick look. "Humans think fighting is always the answer." He smiled faintly. "No. We fight because sometimes it's the only answer left." Outside, the first plasma bolts hit the ground around them, sending waves of heat and sand against the hull. Lira raised the deflector shield, her mind racing through damage projections and escape angles. "If we leave now, we can outfly them before the next wave lands." Reid shook his head. "They'll just follow. And they'll burn the settlement to find us. You said there were survivors hiding nearby, right?" Lira froze. She had scanned the area earlier. Faint life signs under the ruins to the east. Families, probably refugees from the last war. She hadn't planned to interfere. Her mission was only to recover tech, not save lives. But now, standing beside this human, she couldn't ignore it. "Then we protect them," Reid said simply, loading his weapon. "Protect them?" she asked quietly. "For what reason?" "They are not your kind," he met her eyes. "Doesn't matter. They're alive. That's reason enough." Something about those words hit her harder than the explosions outside. Her people believed in survival through logic. But humans, they believed in survival through choice, though, through defiance. "Fine," she said, setting new coordinates. "We'll give them a chance." They launched into the storm, sand and fire swirling around the ship. Lira piloted low, weaving between the ruined towers as the raiders opened fire. Reid stood behind her, his stance balanced despite the shaking hull. "Can you hit their engines?" he asked. "I can try," she replied, diverting power to the rear cannons. Her hands moved with precise speed. Each pulse of blue light cut through the dust. 1, 2, 3 enemy ships spiraling out of the sky. Reid grinned. Not bad for an engineer. She couldn't help a small smile. Not bad for someone who shouldn't exist. The sensors flared, multiple hostiles incoming. Lira cursed softly. "Too many. We can't take them all." "Then we don't," Reid said. "We buy time." He moved toward the airlock, sealing his helmet. "Open the ramp when I say." "What are you doing?" "Stopping them from getting close." "You'll be killed." He gave her a look that made her stop. It wasn't arrogance or madness, and it was calm certainty. "I've been killed before," he said quietly. "Not today." He stepped into the cargo bay, and the moment the ramp opened, the storm swallowed him. Lira saw him leap into the dust, rifle blazing, his figure a shadow of motion and fire. Through the sensors, she watched in disbelief. He moved like a storm himself, sliding between explosions, striking with impossible precision. The raiders tried to flank him, but he was faster, using the wrecks for cover. One by one, their ships faltered and fell. Lira's heart pounded. She'd seen warriors before, even programmed combat drones that moved with perfect logic. But Reid fought with something else, an unmeasurable force that burned through fear and reason alike. When the last dropship hit the ground, silence fell. The storm began to fade, and she brought the ship closer. Reid stood alone among the flames, armor glowing with heat, rifle still smoking. He limped slightly as he climbed aboard. "Told you," he said, pulling off his helmet. "Humans don't die easy," Lira stared at him. "You fought 20 ships alone." "Not alone," he corrected softly. "You were up there." She looked away quickly, pretending to check the controls, but her chest tightened in a way she couldn't explain. Her logic circuits and her training told her to distance herself. Yet her instincts whispered that this human was something rare, something she didn't want to lose. They flew toward the refugee signal. Below, the broken city stretched for miles, filled with quiet ashes and whispers of what once was. "You could have run," she said after a while. "You could have left." Reid gazed out the window. "Running doesn't fix anything. Someone has to stand. Someone always has to stand." She looked at him, really looked, and saw not just a soldier, but a soul that refused to yield even when everything was gone. Maybe that was what made humanity so feared. They didn't just survive, they inspired others to. When they landed near the shelter, alien refugees emerged from the ruins, trembling, thin, their eyes wide with disbelief. A child stepped forward, reaching out to touch Reid's armored hand. "Are you human?" the child asked. Reid smiled faintly. "That's what they tell me." The crowd murmured, awe spreading like light. To them, a human was a myth, a ghost from an age of fire and war. And now one stood before them, alive, real, breathing. Lira watched as they surrounded him, hope flickering in their faces for the first time in years. In that moment, she knew. This human wasn't just a survivor, he was a spark. And if the galaxy ever saw that spark again, nothing would ever be the same. She turned away, pretending to adjust the scanner, but her heart whispered the truth she didn't yet dare to say. She had found him not by accident, but by fate, and though she didn't understand it yet, she had already chosen him. The choice of the heart. The morning light rose pale over the ruins, casting long shadows through the broken towers. Lira stood on the ridge above the refugee camp, her silver eyes scanning the horizon. The air was calm for the first time in days. The storm had passed, but peace never lasted long in this galaxy. Behind her, Reid worked silently, repairing a damaged field generator. His armor was off now, revealing scars that spoke of countless battles. He looked worn but alive, and every movement carried the quiet strength of someone who had survived too much. "You know," he said without looking up. "You don't have to stay." Lira frowned. "And leave you to fix everything with bare hands?" He smiled faintly. "I've been doing that my whole life." She crossed her arms. "Humans are strange. You destroy yourselves, then rebuild everything again as if pain is just part of the plan." Reid paused, tightening a wire. "Maybe it is. Pain reminds us we're still fighting, that we still care." Before Lira could respond, her wrist console began to pulse. A transmission, encrypted, from her home fleet. Her breath caught. She stepped aside and opened the channel. A hologram flickered to life. The cold face of a senior officer from her species. "Engineer Lira," the voice said sharply. "You were reported missing 3 cycles ago. Explain your presence on a restricted war zone." Lira straightened instinctively. "I found something. A survivor. Human." There was a long silence. Then the officer's eyes narrowed. "A human? Impossible. Those creatures were eradicated. Are you certain?" "Yes," Lira said. "He is real. Alive." The officer leaned forward. "Then you will detain him immediately and await retrieval. The High Council will want him for study. Do not engage further." Lira's throat tightened. "Study?" she repeated slowly. "Do not question your orders," the voice snapped. "The human race nearly destroyed the galaxy. If one remains, he is a threat. Secure him. He belongs to us now." The transmission ended, leaving only the hum of the wind. Lira stared at her reflection in the black screen. Her mind swirled with conflict. Logic said obey, duty said report. But her heart, something deeper, whispered no. Reid noticed her silence. "Bad news?" She didn't answer right away. "My people know you're here, they're coming." He stood, brushing off dust. "Then I should go before they find me." "You can't," she said quickly. "They'll track you. They'll take you." He looked at her, calm as ever. "That's not your problem, Lira." But it was. She stepped closer. "They'll call you a threat. But you're not. You saved those people. You fought for them." He shrugged. "Doesn't matter what they call me. I am what I am." She shook her head. "You don't understand. My kind doesn't negotiate. They see danger, they eliminate it. If they find you, you'll be gone." Reid gazed at her, expression unreadable. So what will you do? That question cut straight through her. What would she do? Obey her orders? Or follow the strange warmth growing in her chest since the day she found him under the ruins? She turned away, hiding her trembling hands. I don't know. Reid approached her, his voice softer. You already do. She looked up, meeting his eyes. For the first time, she saw no soldier, only a man tired of running, ready to face whatever came. And in that gaze, she found the answer her logic could never give. No one will take you, she said quietly. Not while I stand. He smiled faintly. Then we stand together. The words felt heavy, powerful, a promise spoken into the morning wind. A deep hum echoed in the distance, the sound of approaching ships. Lira's people had arrived. The sky shimmered with silver light as sleek war vessels descended, their energy cores glowing like stars. The refugees panicked, scattering for cover. Lira activated her shield emitters, casting a wide blue barrier over the camp. Reid moved beside her, weapon ready. They'll come for me, he said. Don't get caught in this. But she only shook her head. You don't tell a Vahlran engineer what to do on her own battlefield. The lead ship landed nearby. A squad of armored figures stepped out, weapons drawn. The officer from the hologram appeared, his tone cold as steel. Engineer Lira, he said. Step aside. The human is classified property. Property? She repeated, anger rising in her voice. He's a living being. He's a weapon, one that nearly ended civilization. Stand down. Reid's hand twitched near his rifle, but she raised hers slightly, a silent plea for patience. Sir, she said, her voice trembling but steady. He's not your enemy, the officer sneered. That's not for you to decide. And then, without warning, the soldiers moved. Blinding blue energy bolts tore through the air. Reid shoved Lira aside as the first blast hit the ground beside them, exploding in a flash of heat and dust. He rolled, firing back with precise bursts. The refugees screamed and scattered. Lira, he shouted. Get to cover. But she didn't. She jumped to the control panel of the field generator, overriding its power limiters. The shield expanded, shimmering brighter, protecting the camp. The officer shouted, Deactivate that shield now! I can't, she yelled back, her voice echoing. I won't! The officer raised his weapon. Then you're a traitor! Reid saw the barrel turn toward her and ran, faster than any being should have moved. He threw himself between them as the bolt fired. The blast hit his chestplate full force, sending him crashing to the ground. Reid! Lira screamed, dropping to his side. His armor smoked, energy searing the edges. He coughed, blood staining his lips. You shouldn't have stayed, he whispered. Tears welled in her glowing eyes. You saved me. Again. He gave a weak grin. That's what humans do. She turned, fury blazing through her calm logic. Her hands flew across the controls, redirecting the generator's core into an overload sequence. The officer shouted, Stop her! But it was too late. A surge of blue light erupted across the battlefield, a wave of energy that threw soldiers and ships alike backward. The explosion blinded the sky for miles. When the light faded, silence reigned. The camp still stood, shielded by the last pulse of energy. The raiders were gone. The soldiers were retreating. Lira knelt beside the wounded human, her hands trembling as she checked his pulse. Still alive. Barely. She lifted his head gently. I won't let them take you, she whispered. And for the first time in her long, logical life, she felt something her kind had no word for. Love. The last sanctuary. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the cockpit glass as Lira's ship tore through the darkness, engines howling under strain. Behind them, streaks of plasma light chased through hyperspace, her people's interceptors, hunting their own engineer. Reid lay on the medical bed in the back cabin, pale and unmoving. The pulse monitor flickered weakly, each beat a fragile reminder that he was still fighting. Lira worked fast, rerouting the ship's energy reserves to power the medbay. Come on, she whispered, voice trembling. You've survived worse than this. Her hands moved with precision, sealing the armor burns across his chest. The wound had gone deep, through plating, through skin. No one else would have lived this long. But he wasn't just anyone. He was human. The hum of the engines softened as the ship exited warp. The navigation display flashed red. Fuel critical. Shields at 28%. Pursuers detected. Lira bit her lip. I need a place to hide. Her mind raced through star charts. Most systems were too exposed, too populated. Then she remembered something Reid had murmured before losing consciousness. A name whispered like an old memory. Sanctum's Edge. It wasn't on any modern map, but she found a faint coordinate string buried in her ship's memory banks. An ancient Terran code format. Sanctum's Edge, she repeated softly. Let's see what secret you left behind, human. She punched in the coordinates. The ship dove into another hyperspace jump, engines groaning as if in pain. Hours passed in silence except for the rhythmic beeping of the med unit. Lira sat beside Reid, wiping the dust from his face. He looked peaceful now, almost fragile, so unlike the warrior who had fought armies without fear. You should have run, she whispered. Why did you stay? As if hearing her, Reid's lips moved slightly. His voice was faint, almost a breath. Because someone had to stand. Her chest tightened. Even half-conscious, he still spoke like that, with that strange Terran certainty that defied reason. The ship dropped out of hyperspace into darkness. Ahead lay a dead star system. No light, no heat, no signs of life. Yet one signal flickered faintly from an ancient moon orbiting a shattered planet. Lira's scanners couldn't identify it. No records, no transmissions, no warnings. Just silence. This must be it, she murmured. Sanctum's Edge. She guided the ship down through drifting asteroid debris. The moon's surface was smooth and metallic, like glass. When they landed, the ground itself lit up in faint blue lines, forming the symbol of an old Terran command crest. The same crest that was engraved on Reid's armor. Lira's eyes widened. This place that knows you. She activated the ship's exterior lights, stepping out carefully with a portable scanner. The air was thin but breathable. Her boots echoed softly against the surface as she approached a large structure half buried in dust. Its doors opened at her touch. Inside, the hall stretched endlessly, glowing panels and long-dead machines. A giant emblem hung above the central chamber, a stylized earth surrounded by 7 stars. Below it carved words in ancient human script. For when the stars forget who we were, we will remind them. Lira's breath caught. This wasn't just a ruin, it was a vault. She returned to the ship and carefully carried Reid inside. As she entered the chamber, the lights brightened, scanning his face, his DNA. The floor pulsed with energy, old machines coming alive for the first time in centuries. A voice filled the air, soft but commanding. Terran genetic signature confirmed. Commander class detected. Activating Sanctuary protocol. Lira froze. Commander? She whispered. The chamber walls shifted, revealing rows of stasis pods and holographic displays flickering to life. Projections of human soldiers, long dead, stood in silent salute before fading away. The voice continued. Welcome back, warrior. Humanity endures. Tears blurred Lira's vision. Against all odds, against every history record, humanity had left something behind. A sanctuary, a memory of who they were. She placed Reid gently on a platform. Energy threads flowed into the medical cradle, scanning his body, healing tissues with ancient Terran nanotech. The display read, Vital stabilizing restoration in progress. Lira sank to her knees, overwhelmed. You planned this, she whispered to him. Even extinction couldn't stop you. The holographic AI flickered again, now focused on her. Non-human presence detected. Identify purpose, she swallowed hard. I saved him. He saved me. The voice paused, then softened. Then you are an ally of humanity. Sanctuary recognizes your bond, her heart raced. Bond, emotional link recorded. Classification mate selection protocol. Her silver cheeks flushed with faint color. Mate? The AI simply replied, confirmed. At that moment, Reid stirred. His eyes opened, calm, gray, and alive once more. "Did I die again?" he muttered weakly. Lira laughed through tears. "Not yet." He blinked, looking around. "This place, I know it. My unit built it before the collapse. A fallback haven. Didn't think it would still work." She helped him sit up. "Your people built this for the future." He smiled faintly. "For hope." They stood together in the chamber, surrounded by the glow of ancient human symbols. The holographic stars above began to spin, revealing data, coordinates of other hidden sanctuaries across the galaxy. Lira whispered, "There are more?" Reid's expression hardened with determination. "There always are. Humanity never leaves just one light burning." Suddenly, alarms blared. The sanctuary's sensors detected ships approaching. Vahlran pursuers had followed them through hyperspace. Lira's console flashed warnings. "They've found us." Reid stood, strength returning, eyes fierce once again. "Then we show them what humanity really left behind." He turned to her, voice quiet but steady. "Lira, are you with me?" She met his gaze, no longer the cautious engineer, but someone reborn through fire and feeling, always, she said, and together, they activated the sanctuary's defense systems. The dead moon came alive, awakening weapons and shields untouched for centuries. Massive cannons rose from the surface as ancient Terran war machines powered up once more. Glowing red in the darkness, outside the Vahlran fleet halted, confused, then terrified, as the forgotten wrath of humanity stirred beneath the stars. Reid gripped his rifle, standing tall beside her. "Let them come," he said. "They wanted a ghost. Now they'll meet the legend." And as the first enemy ships broke formation, the human warrior and the alien engineer stood together, not as prey and pursuer, but as something greater, two hearts bound by war, standing on the edge of rebirth. The galaxy was about to remember who humans truly were. The galaxy remembers humanity. The void above Sanctum's edge burned with light. The Vahlran fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Dozens of sleek silver warships, their engines humming like thunder across the stars. At their head flew the flagship Veritas Prime, carrying the High Commander himself. From the surface, Lira watched them through the holographic canopy of the sanctuary. The ancient moon trembled as systems long dormant came alive, energy pulsing through circuits older than her civilization. The human symbols around her glowed with fierce blue light, ancient, angry, and alive. Reid stood beside her, his repaired armor gleaming faintly under the glow. The Terran crest over his heart plate flickered, syncing with the sanctuary's systems. He looked stronger now, not fully healed but unstoppable. "They're not going to stop," Lira said quietly. "They'll destroy this place." Reid nodded, calm as ever. "Then we don't let them." He turned to the console. Sanctuary Command Authorization Code Alpha 7 Terran. The AI responded instantly, voice echoing through the chamber. "Authorization accepted. Commander Reid Walker, designation active. Awakening defense grid, releasing automated legions." From the depths of the moon, the ground split open. Massive towers rose, and with them, shapes. Machines of war. Ancient Terran battle drones, rusted but awakening, eyes glowing red as they powered up after centuries of silence. Lira's breath caught as hundreds, no, thousands of them lined the crater fields. Awaiting command, Reid's voice was calm. "Deploy Guardian units to perimeter. Activate shield harmonics." "Affirmative," said the AI. "Defensive network online." Above, the Vahlran ships opened fire. Plasma bolts rained down, bright and relentless, but the sanctuary's shields flared to life, a dome of blue light absorbing every impact. The High Commander's voice boomed through the comms, cold and furious. "Engineer Lira, you have violated the Prime Edict. Stand down immediately and surrender the human." Lira's hands tightened on the railing. "No," the voice grew colder. "You defy your own kind for a dead species?" She looked at Reid, at the man who had fought for strangers, bled for her, and stood between her and death without hesitation. "For him," she said softly, "I defy everything." The transmission cut off. The Vahlran fleet unleashed another barrage, but this time the sanctuary answered back. The moon itself seemed to roar. Massive plasma lances fired from the surface, tearing through the enemy formation. Terran war drones launched skyward in waves, moving with terrifying precision. Their weapons were old, but their aim was perfect. The first Vahlran destroyer exploded in a bloom of white fire. Then another. Then 3 more. Lira stared in disbelief. How are these systems still functional? Reid smiled faintly. Because humans don't build things to die. We build them to outlast time. The command deck shook as the battle raged above. Lira monitored power levels, rerouting damaged conduits. The shields are holding, but not for long. They'll bring their capital beam online. Then we end this before they do, Reid said. He walked to the central terminal, placing his hand on the glowing interface. The system scanned his DNA, linking to the core. The floor pulsed as the Sanctuary's AI spoke again. Final defense protocol ready. Activation requires mutual consent. Mutual? Lira repeated, stepping closer. The AI explained. 2 linked life forms, human and non-human. Bond confirmed. Consent required to unleash the Genesis Lance. Lira met his eyes, realization dawning. It wants us both, Reid nodded. It's your choice, her heart raced. Around them the wall shook, explosions echoing from the sky. She thought of everything, her people, her duty, her logic, all collapsing before one truth. She didn't just follow this human anymore. She believed in him. I choose you, she whispered. Reid smiled softly, the kind of smile that made worlds worth saving. Then let's show them who we are. Together they placed their hands on the console. The chamber glowed with blinding light. Energy surged through every conduit, every ancient weapon, every forgotten system. The Sanctuary's AI spoke its final words, Genesis Lance firing. The surface of the moon split open, revealing a colossal weapon core buried beneath the crust. A beam of pure white light erupted from it, slicing through the void like the hand of a god. It tore through the center of the Vahlran fleet, vaporizing ships in a single sweep. The blast illuminated the dark side of the planet, visible from light years away. When it ended, silence fell. Only fragments of the Vahlran ships drifted through space, glowing like dying embers. Lira stared in stunned awe. It's over. Reid exhaled slowly, lowering his hand. No, it's just beginning. She turned to him, confused. What do you mean? He looked toward the stars, the endless expanse now lit by the pulse of the Genesis Lance. Every sensor in the galaxy saw that. Every empire, every world. They all just learned that humanity isn't gone. Lira's heart skipped. You think they'll come looking for you? He smiled faintly. They'll come looking for us. She laughed quietly, tears glimmering in her silver eyes. You're impossible, human. He stepped closer, brushing a lock of silver hair from her face. That's what they always said about us. Outside, the sanctuary began to quiet, its lights dimming into a gentle blue glow. The battlefield was gone. The stars were peaceful again. Lira looked up at the vast galaxy above and then at him. So what happens now? Reid looked toward the distant constellations, the reflection of ancient Earth's light shining in his gray eyes. Now, he said softly, we rebuild. We remind them why humanity once ruled the stars, and why we will again. She smiled, resting her hand over his. Together, the sanctuary lights pulsed once more, sealing the vow, a bond between species, forged in fire and hope. And as the last echoes of battle faded, the message spread across the galaxy. Humanity endures. Humanity returns. End of story. She met a human warrior and chose him as her mate. HFY, Sci-Fi universe.